This channel is primarily dedicated to postage stamps. However, for this episode, I wanted to explore postcards, one of the many vehicles that a postage stamp may travel by, and an amazing item to collect that could enhance your philatelic collection. So I headed to Atlantic City, not just because I wanted to visit the beach, but also because I acquired these beautiful Atlantic City postcards, some as early as 1909, and I wanted to take the opportunity to see what I can learn about this coastal resort city's rich history by looking at more than just the postage stamp. This is something that I really enjoy doing, exploring a place through its postal history, some postal tourism, I suppose. Located on the east coast of the US and in my home state of New Jersey, Atlantic City was founded in the 1850s and quickly became a vacation playground for the cities of Philadelphia and New York. So with the millions of visitors that the city has hosted over its lifetime and the amazing history that it is connected to, Atlantic City was an easy choice for me to do some exploring through Deltiology. Now let's take this stack of postcards and explore Atlantic City.
What exactly is Deltiology?
Deltiology is a word that was coined in the 1940s in the US to describe the study and collection of postcards, the postcard equivalent to philately, the study of postage stamps. But unlike philately, where there are recognized official postal services that print stamps, there is no one central entity that makes postcards. They could be sold by a post office or a souvenir shop, printed by independent printers, or even handmade by a hobbyist. And with the variety and amount of postcards out there, Deltiology attracts collectors of all interests. Because Deltiology is so wide open to any rules that the collector decides on, they often focus on an artist or a printer or a location. And that was my parameter for this stack of postcards. They could be used or unused and printed by anyone, as long as they featured Atlantic City in the early 20th century. And if they are used, ideally they're used from here. So that brings me to the first postcard in the stack, sent in 1909, featuring an image of this, the Absecon Lighthouse. It was built in 1857 and it is considered to be the third tallest lighthouse in the United States, with a total height of 171 feet or 52 meters. And although the light still shines from it, it is no longer an active navigational aid, having been decommissioned in 1933. This first postcard is bringing us to the northeastern corner of the city, where the lighthouse overlooks the Absecon Inlet and of course the Atlantic Ocean. Fun fact, the lighthouse was designed by George Meade, General George Meade, who defeated Robert E. Lee at the Battle of Gettysburg in the American Civil War that took place 6 years after this lighthouse was built. A general that built lighthouses and won battles. Epic. Other than some changes to the buildings around it and the presence of electric power lines, the image on the postcard is not too different from what still stands here today. On the picture side of the card, we can see that there is a faint cancel that may have been accidentally applied there, or transferred from the wet ink of another postal item that it was pressed up against. And the sender provided a short note to the recipient underneath the description, an answer to your letter. This card was sent to Drummore, Pennsylvania, using a green Ben Franklin 1-cent stamp postmarked in Atlantic City on the 6th of August in 1909. And it reads, "Dear Ethel, to let you know I am still in existence. Hope you are enjoying camp. I am having a glorious time. Wish you and Will were with us. I know you would enjoy it more than camp. Your friend as ever." So this is like a I wish you were here message, but like here at this lighthouse back in 1909, over 113 years ago. I think that's really cool. Anyway, Laura, what do you think about getting some saltwater taffy right now? Atlantic City's famous souvenir. Saltwater taffy is a variety of soft taffy that was originally produced in the 1880s in Atlantic City, getting its name after a high tide soaked a candy stand, and the owner of that candy stand sarcastically called his taffy saltwater taffy to visitors buying from him the next day. Well, it quickly became known as that and was popularized by Joseph Fralinger, who began boxing and marketing his treat as saltwater taffy. So our postcard adventure now takes us to one of Fralinger's candy stores in Atlantic City.
Now, Fralinger's has been around since 1885, and although this isn't its original location, it's still around today. This postcard was sent in 1909.
So just like our Lighthouse postcard, this was sent in 1909, but this time featuring the inside of a candy store, Fralinger's, with an image portraying tourists walking through the store and picking up saltwater taffy for their friends and family at home, getting ready to come home from Atlantic City. How's that for some beach resort summer fashion back in 1909? The card was sent September 16th to a Miss Grace Craig in Toronto, Canada, again with a 1-cent Ben Franklin. It reads, "Have just been getting candy to bring to you and they gave me this card. Got some seashells on the beach for you. Love from Mother."
You know what's interesting, other than this being an awesome piece of Atlantic City's history, is the offer that Fralinger's has on the postcard. For 45 cents in stamps, we ship a 1-pound box of Fralinger's taffy to any part of the US. So if I mailed 45 cents in stamps inside an envelope, they would send a box of taffy. So stamps being used to pay for a product, including shipping and handling. That's pretty cool. Whenever I came here, I always thought those wheelie chair things were weird, but they're an iconic part of Atlantic City's identity. This incredible boardwalk.
Considered to be one of the world's first and longest boardwalks, the Atlantic City Boardwalk was opened in 1870 and is actually one of Atlantic City's streets that stretches 4 miles or 6.5 kilometers long, lined with grand hotels and casinos. The need for a boardwalk came from hotel owners whose guests wanted to walk along the beach without dealing with the sand, and of course walking the sand into the hotel lobby. With the help of a railroad conductor, the first wooden structure was designed and built, quickly gaining the approval of visitors to the city. Just 10 years after the boardwalk was introduced, the rolling chair made an appearance, the only vehicle permitted on the boardwalk at the time. And of course, it was a sign of luxury for vacationers to ride in a rolling chair and watch the waves crashing on the beach, all while getting to your destination on the boardwalk. So let's place ourselves, well, anywhere along the boardwalk for this next postcard, because it wasn't difficult to find one with classic imagery of it.
And so this postcard features the rolling chairs on the boardwalk, but 111 years ago.
It's thanks to this postcard that I now know the actual name of this vehicle. A boardwalk rolling chair. And other than the fashion, this still could be a scene on the boardwalk today. It was sent to a Miss Bartlett of Brooklyn, New York in February of 1911. The stamp has fallen off with just the discoloring from the glue remaining. And it reads, "We have been enjoying these perfect days in this glorious air. My first visit. Go back Monday and see Maud Adams in Chanticleer. I suppose you have. The boardwalk is thronged. It does not seem like Feb. ECH." The boardwalk also has a few piers jetting out into the Atlantic, the most famous being Steel Pier, an entertainment complex that was considered to be one of the most popular venues in the US for over 7 decades in the 20th century. From concerts to exhibits and an amusement park, this pier had something for everyone, including the famous act of diving horses. Horses that jumped from a high distance into a pool of water, as you can see in this unused postcard that I was able to obtain. Apparently the horses were never hurt and actually enjoyed it, but something tells me that I may not have particularly felt the same way. Actually, a movie was made about the story of Sonora Webster, a famous horse diver that became blind and continued to dive horses for 11 years here in Atlantic City. Steel Pier is still considered to be a popular playground among adults and children, as games and rides attract buzzing crowds during the summer.
This postcard is from 1949, sent at the end of summer in August that year to Charleston, Virginia.
The postcard is using a green George Washington 1-cent Prexy with a very simple message. Hello, GOG. I'm so very busy seeing things. Eddie. It is the picture side though that is the most interesting, showing a busy boardwalk where Steel Pier connects. Crowd on boardwalk showing Steel Pier, Atlantic City. And of course a card like this will keep you busy as you can explore the various headliners and acts performing at the time. Today's Steel Pier is a little less impressive, but it is still a location that entertains thousands of visitors each year. As we made our way back down the boardwalk, we stopped in front of the old convention center, today's Boardwalk Hall, to see the Miss America statue, a bronze larger-than-life-sized sculpture that reminds visitors where the century-long tradition of the Miss America Pageant first began. The very first pageant took place in Atlantic City in 1921 and continued to be held there almost every year until 2004. A significant part of Atlantic City's history. The first winner of the pageant was Washington, D.C.'s Margaret Gorman, in which over 100,000 people had gathered at the boardwalk to witness the event. And in just 2 years, over 300,000 people would attend the parade.
I have 2 postcards featuring Miss America, both unused, but the only ones I could find with an early Miss America.
The top of the cards read, Miss America at Atlantic City, New Jersey, the playground of America. Miss America is surrounded by crowded beaches with different piers in the backgrounds of each card. The name of this Miss America is not listed on the front or even the back of the card, but I believe that it is Miss America of 1927, Lois DeLander from Illinois, although I could be wrong. And no, I don't think she was actually this big. And while there can only be one Miss America crowned each year, you can imagine that this bronze statue on the boardwalk has crowned thousands of visitors to the city since being placed there in 2014. The most common type of Atlantic City postcard that I was able to find features one or more of the many iconic hotels on the boardwalk, enormous buildings that house the hundreds of thousands of tourists each year. Most of these buildings don't exist today, but there is one in particular that is still around, just no longer a hotel. So our next stop is the Ritz on the boardwalk, but today it is a condominium building, and while it doesn't look nearly as impressive as the other hotels from its time, its history makes up for it. Completed in 1921, the Ritz had hosted some famous guests over the years, including Presidents Calvin Coolidge, Warren Harding, and Herbert Hoover, as well as some of the most notorious gangsters of all time, Al Capone and Lucky Luciano, and a big name in Atlantic City's history, politician and crime boss Nucky Johnson, who used several of the suites to conduct his daily business and was portrayed in the book and popular HBO TV series Boardwalk Empire as Nucky Thompson, starring Steve Buscemi.
For the TV show, they still referred to Nucky's hotel as the Ritz, but they used a different hotel for inspiration, the Marlborough, which had a far more elaborate presence on the Atlantic City boardwalk at the time. Here's a postcard featuring two hotels, the Marlborough and the Tremor.
Perhaps the grandest of hotels, the Marlborough and the Tremor certainly stood out on the Atlantic City boardwalk, and I just realized that the postcard and the intro to Boardwalk Empire have a very similar angle featuring both hotels. Okay, let's take a look at what's on the other side of the card. This one is from Irene to Helen Wood in Newport, New York, sent July 16th, 1923, with a green George Washington 1 cent and a cancellation that's either advertising or warning you about the National Council of Traveling Salesmen that'll be here from September 5th through the 7th. The postcard reads, "Have been here for a week and expect to remain 1 or 2 more. My vacation lasts a month. I'm having a very gay time. Irene." And while I was admiring the Atlantic City skyline, I got some inspiration to talk about, well, you know, stamps.
There's a couple of stamps I'm going to throw into the mix here. The stamp that I absolutely love to use on outgoing mail is a 2002 Greetings from New Jersey stamp.
The stamp was part of a 50 stamp sheet that features each of the US states depicted as a classic large letter postcard, a style of postcard that was first introduced in the 1930s.
Just like this Atlantic City postcard that I was able to get a hold of.
A really good example of a large letter postcard. This has a classic look that uses large letters to spell out the city name, along with imagery of attractions and points of interest often worth visiting. This particular Greetings from Atlantic City postcard is from Anne to Helen of Rural Heights Station in Easton, Maryland. It was sent in 1941, and again we have a postcard where the stamp has fallen off. The postcard reads, "Hiya, am having a nice time, plenty hot here, see you soon, Anne." Well, back to the stamp. For New Jersey's stamp on the sheet, we see the imagery of Atlantic City, someone sitting on the sand with the beachfront hotels in the distance. The imagery is of course a bit of an artistic rendition. There is no beach pointing towards the hotels in this manner, but I did notice that the hotels do line up with actual Atlantic City hotels, especially this one, today's Bally's Hotel Casino, but historically it was the Hotel Dennis.
And the Hotel Dennis is that one over there?
Oh, right. I forgot to tell you, we backtracked a little bit on the boardwalk to find this hotel, the Hotel Dennis, or what is today's Bally's Hotel and Casino. Now, the Hotel Dennis is very much tucked among the larger hotels on the boardwalk. I do have a 1929 postcard of this building back when it was the Hotel Dennis, another hotel that saw some interesting guests during its time, such as Helen Keller and Alexander Graham Bell. But I didn't come to this hotel because of the postcard.
I'm gonna have to see if I can do some Xtremephilately with that 2002 Greetings from stamp. I just gotta find a better angle.
This is not the only Xtremephilately that I planned on doing. I have another stamp issued in 1998 that should count as a New Jersey stamp due to what it actually depicts. Monopoly. Perhaps one of the most famous board games ever. Monopoly is a real estate board game for 2 to 8 players in which the main goal is to remain financially stable while forcing opponents into bankruptcy by buying and developing pieces of property. It has a history that goes back to a 1904 game created and patented by Lizzie McGee called the Landlord's Game, which was supposed to teach you about how bad monopolies are. It only gained popularity during the Great Depression when Charles Darrow gave it a new look and made some changes before selling the concept to Parker Brothers in 1935. His new look used the streets of Atlantic City. And the most expensive street to acquire and build your properties and hotels on is the boardwalk. So to prove that the original Monopoly board was indeed named after the streets of Atlantic City, I got a hold of some wheels to take the board and find several of the streets that are on it.
So I just found this parking. This is in between Kentucky and New York, which on the board should be free parking. But this parking is actually $15, so it's not free. Anyway, I think this is a wrap for the postcard episode.
Wait, what about Lucy?
What about Lucy?
I thought we were gonna go see her.
Why do you want to go see Lucy so badly?
Because everybody loves her.
Let's go see Lucy. Yeah.
For the final stop of this postcard adventure, we're actually going to go outside of Atlantic City, just a little bit further down the shore to Margate, where we will find Lucy the Elephant, a 6-story elephant-shaped structure that dates back to 1881. Originally named Elephant Bazaar, Lucy was built to promote real estate sales and attract tourists. But through the first half of the 20th century, Lucy served as a restaurant, business office, cottage, and a tavern. But it's really because of her looks, a giant, friendly, and gentle elephant, that attracts the Atlantic City visitors to go down and see her. And of course, Laura is really excited to see her in person.
Well, Laura, here's your Lucy.
Aw, bummer.
Yeah, apparently she's under construction right now, but there is an elephant under that box. They're giving Lucy a new exoskeleton, apparently. Well, she is over 140 years old, so I guess she deserves a bit of a renovation. It's just a pity that she's under construction now while we're here. But I do have this postcard that was sent in 1927.
This postcard is referring to Lucy as the Elephant Hotel. But the real hotel was in a nearby building and not inside the elephant. You can actually see Elephant Hotel on the building next to it. And turning it over, we see that this postcard was sent to Dorothy in Hanover, Pennsylvania on the 23rd of February 1927 using a 2-cent red George Washington stamp that's a little skewed. The postcard reads, "How are you all? You owe me a letter, I think. We are here for the week. Saw a good movie yesterday. Flesh and the Devil. John Gilbert and Greta Garbo are in it."
is a total bummer, but the gift shop is still open, as the big sign says, so I was able to go inside and actually get myself a modern day postcard featuring Lucy and what she should look like. In this picture though, it's of course better weather and Lucy is not under construction. I mean, it is an episode about postcards, so I should probably send one. Just need to go find a postbox now. Anyway, that's a wrap for this postcard episode, exploring my local resort city on the Atlantic. I hope that this episode may encourage you to do some of your own postal or postcard tourism, whether it's a local city or a vacation destination. Try it, it's a lot of fun.
Of course, there'll be a number of links in the video description for you to check out, including a link to the Postcard History book series that inspired this adventure, with the book dedicated to Atlantic City. The books include beautiful pictures of actual postcards and details about the locations that they show, and there are a number of books to choose from. I will also place a link to eBay's postcard category, the best place to search for and sell postcards. With easy-to-use search tools, you can locate postcards for your collection via theme, subject, country or region, and so much more. I'll leave the eBay link in the video description for you to start your postcard journey now.
So if you enjoyed the episode, remember to hit that like button and subscribe. As always, thank you for watching and happy exploring.